Hey guys, what's going on? Dream River 23 here, and I do have Panda in here with me this evening. Say hello.
Hello, everybody.
And we're just going through. They did so today is the 16th February, and they just did a roadmap roundup. They haven't put a video out or anything like that, but they went through and did some final commits and stuff like that, from what I can see, for this update. So we're just going to go over it, and nothing at this point in time. Nothing, we haven't, both of us haven't really looked at it yet. I knew that today was the roadmap roundup, so I wanted to kind of see what they did, and apparently this kind of just came through. So we were going to go through and talk about it. So Panda and I, so a lot of these, and the reason why we're doing this is because a lot of the times we always go through and start talking about Star Citizen, and Panda's like, literally like 30 minutes in, he's like, do you want to actually record some of this? Just like, well, now I don't want to go through and remake our points, and like, or I'll say like, man, we should have actually recorded this. And they'll be like, yeah, I don't want to remake our points. So I was like, let's just kind of like, something new happened with the roadmap roundup, so let's kind of go into it and see the stuff that looks like that's going through that is committed and everything like that. So just looking over it, I do see on here the DNA head textures update, and these are committed. So this deliverable is scheduled for this quarter and has passed the final review process. Now we all understand too is like, even though it's committed, there still might be a chance that something could come up. Like, and I have always taken these as like, forgoing any unforeseen like tech stuff that comes up. I mean, there could be something that they go through and like the DNA heads, they realize that, oh, once that actually gets into testing, they're like, oh shit, this is actually really bugged, and there's this huge error that's causing some sort of catastrophic thing, or 30Ks to come back or something like that in a bad way. And so it can actually be removed from it and kind of come back in on a 0.1 patch or something like that whenever they get that part corrected.
Right. My guess is that Evocati does not have this yet. So it has not gone to the wider testing either. That's where they could find...
Yeah, no, I don't think they would, because this would be, what, typically mid to late March is whenever we would see this, right?
Yeah, so Evocati wouldn't have it for another month. Another week. 2 weeks.
What's the cycle for? Is Evocati... Because I know they usually try to get it into the...
But yes, the Evocati should have it first.
I know they try to usually get in the PTU for... They like to have it in there in like a working cycle for at least a couple weeks, to where they go through and you'll see like, oh, today we're doing A, B, like the test releases, like for what the potential releases could be. And so they have like... I've seen them go up all the way up to like E and F for like different kind of versions for like...
Oh yeah. H and I think I've seen even. Yeah, absolutely.
So the DNA head textures, which this one I wasn't ever 100% sure. Was it something where they were adding just new and different head textures to go through and with the DNA heads to go through and get it to where you can get a better mix of stuff? Art updates for DNA archetype heads that will improve the quality of all DNA heads, both for players and common NPCs. Is this something they were like, man, we actually should probably get some either A, better quality, B, different.
From what I'm reading here, this one sounds like a quality pass, not necessarily like an addition of different features that we could then manipulate and change. This one sounds like a quality of the textures they have update, just from what I'm reading here.
Well, and if the pass is anything to go off of, you'll get to remake your character probably like 5 or 6 times a patch. All right, and then when we go down to locations, I see we got 2 entries that are both committed, right? So these are both committed on here. Lowerville Hospital, Maria of Pure of Heart.
Yeah, of Pure Heart, yes.
Oh, because Lowerville right now, like you can walk by it, but you can't actually get into it. Okay.
Yeah, you can get into the lobby. You can walk into the front lobby area. It's not usable in any...
I typically don't go down to Lowerville that often, just because I think the place... Like, honestly, it's the most confusing for me. And that sounds crazy, because you can be like, really? ArtCorp's not crazy? Because everybody gets confused, I guess, by the shiny, flashy neon. But I'm like, I'm good with that. Space Station Clinics. I saw this one, the variations for Space Station Clinics. Because right now, they all do look
100% identical.
Yeah. Additional modules to add variety to existing space clinics, and additional layouts so that every space station in Stanton will have a unique layout. I'm actually good with that. Also, you haven't really loaded up with 3.161, have you?
No, I've played a couple of hours, yeah.
They put in, so yesterday, what's the day? Wednesday? Either yesterday or Monday, I went in, and there was actually a patch that I had to install, but it didn't have any like patch notes that linked out to like what it was, so I don't know if it was just small corrections or something with the anti-cheat. But I went in there and I was trying to go through. I actually needed to go back down to Orison because that's where my prospector is, and I needed to get like, my equipment and stuff like that put on there because I had to reset my character back to Orson. And so yeah, now whenever you come back to in the hospital, you actually have like doctors and nurses around you, like, hey, welcome back. We almost lost you there. You da 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 da. And it's actually kind of cool, like just seeing that part of it, to where you have like these doctors and nurses walking around your room
That is
when you come
crazy. I
back
have
in.
not seen that yet.
So I was like, that's fucking badass. All right, I'm good with this. But this side of it right here with the space station clinic variations, I'm good with that.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that.
Moving on to the locations on here, though, as for the stuff that is committed, I know a lot of people had problems with this with the roadmap gate, I think is what some people are calling it, for like the coffee shop vendor, right? Because so like we lost the personal habs or personal hangers, not habs, personal hangers, but we've got a coffee shop vendor, blah blah blah, and like lots of shit about it. But the thing that for me was more interesting is not necessarily that it's like a coffee shop vendor, but it's more of the AI behavior that they're kind of trying to program in with a lot of the new shops and stuff like that to go through, not necessarily just for this one specific coffee shop vendor, but having it to where that's all of the AI kind of stuff, getting these kind of upgrades and trying to work on like the different AI personalities for and adding to that into the game, which I think is definitely needed. And in the long run, when you go through and, in a year or two from now or 3 years from now or whatever, you're going to look back and be like, oh yeah, I remember the coffee shop vendor, but like that AI, like behaviors for that AI, were kind of like a stepping stone and moving forward of adding just like more and more and more different types of NPC personalities and, functions and like animations that they do when they're doing stuff and getting that to where it's more smoothly coded into different NPCs, which it was nice. It's going to be on Area 18 though, which and we've actually talked about that when we've gone through Area 18 in the sense that there are a lot of those little shops, hot dog vendors and the Chinese food and like the different little vendors that they have through there, and you're just like, yeah, but there's not a lot of them that are actually interactive. So like getting the more interactivity through the different areas, I appreciate that as well.
We haven't actually been confirmed that it's more interactivity yet, right? We're still kind of waiting to see what this coffee vendor
No,
AI
actually, it says on here,
is.
it says Area 18 is getting a new interactable coffee shop vendor. The AI will interact with 3 new usables, hot drink dispenser, and so like you're not actually getting it. The AI itself, the NPC there, is actually interacting with the hot drink dispenser, soft drink dispenser, and the drinks fridge. So like getting you stuff out of there to serve the player with a variety of new drinks. So just that because right now I think the bartenders, is that the only one that we really have that actually has an interaction? Because most of the other ones are just like, what do you want? I'm not even supposed to be here today.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I haven't been to a bartender that gave any sort of interaction yet, so if there is one, I don't know about it.
I actually have a few times in a few different locations, and they do getting them to actually like finish wiping their damn glass and like getting you a beer or whatever. It does take some time, but they do actually interact. Space Station Clinic variations and the coffee shop vendor, and then it drops down to gameplay, and these 3 are committed on here. So the mining gadgets, which we're spoiled in a way because we have a mole, and so it's usually me and you and Huaha that go out in the mole, and we are able to go through and get through pretty much any rock
If we
at this point in time.
we don't fuck around. We go straight to the big guns.
Right.
We mine.
So, but also in that same sense, I can understand, especially if you're going through and it's just you're running solo and a prospector, having the ability to have these different gadgets could be beneficial. It says mining gadgets will help to modify the rock. Will help to modify the rock and assist the player with mining a deposit. The player can attach a device physically to a mineable deposit in FPS to modify its stats, making mining either easier and safer or quicker and riskier.
Yeah, these are the things you place on the rocks.
Yeah, so it goes beyond just the mods that you can get for the mining lasers, the ones that make it to where it's more stable and stuff like that. It goes beyond that because there are ones that if you use the Lancet laser, I mean, you're already getting a reduction in power output and stuff like that to make it more safe. But if you're wanting to be able to go through and say, cool, well, if I can go through and add a mining module for my prospector, and in all honesty, this is at this point in time in the universe, this is what you're going to be more looking at that for, is that solo gameplay. is how I see it. Now, that being said, future tech, new systems come available. There is going to be stuff, and that's one thing they have talked about in quite a few of the different videos that I watched from the team on their Star Citizen channel whenever they're doing like This Week in Star Citizen and stuff like that. And they talked about with the introduction of new systems, there will be items, ores and stuff like that, plants, things in these new systems that will be unique to that system. So that's telling me that there will be either bigger rocks, different types of rocks and stuff like that, something beyond just Quantanium and the ores that we have in Stanton. There will be some of those in those other systems, but then there will be a new ore that's introduced, or new ores that are introduced that might be specific more to that system. And you might find them rarely, in the Stanton system, just because the way the universe, I guess, is technically made up. But it'll be something like, if you actually go to Pyro or Nyx or any of these other star systems, there will be ores there that will be different. That even in like a mole, you might be like, all right, cool. We also need to go through and have some of these mining gadgets to be able to go through and set up shop and make sure that we can go through and get all of the resources that we're able to get. And some of these mining gadgets might also make it to where you get the better clumps, those fucking great breaks to where you're like, oh yes, this one is 100%, 100%, 100% for the Quantanium in these rocks or something like that, which would be nice.
We'll definitely have to see, because from what's written there, it reads like it's more like it's just going to change its stability, or its reactivity. The idea that it would increase output, we'll have to see if they do that yet.
Yeah, that, and I've seen videos of and it looked like there was like 6, 7, 8 different kinds of mining gadgets. So they have different functions for each of them, just kind of like they do with the modules, the add-ons for the mining lasers. So I'm really interested in that one and see how that's implemented and put in. At this point in time, I mean, mining is the most complete game loop. And it's not even in its final form. There's going to be more that's going to be added to that, and more that gets introduced into that as time goes on, whenever we get new introduction of systems and stuff like that, like we were talking about as well, which, happy to see that. Committed, ship-to-ship refueling.
Finally, how those guys with Starfares from 2014 can get some use out of that big old ship.
Yeah. Implementing systems that will allow players flying specific ships to refuel other ships and get paid for it. The player can fill those specific ships' fuel tanks from a station using an updated... the player can fill those specific ships' fuel tank from a station using an updated rearm, restock, refuel interface at landing zones and space stations. The player can fill those specific... the fuel ships. Gotcha. So yes, they can use the Starfare, or the Vulcan is the other one that we were talking about the other day, right? That's the like rearm, refuel, or restock kind of ship.
Yes, but the
repair. It's rearm, repair, refuel. But that's at a much smaller scale, and that one's not
much smaller scale.
Put in yet. That's not a ship that's available to fly.
And we don't have the Vulcan yet, which is a bummer. I was personally excited for the Vulcan.
I can see with this getting put in place, I can see the Vulcan coming a lot further into scope, or a lot closer into scope with this one. But that's the thing is right now is like you were saying, the drones, like we don't have.
Well, yeah, once it's in, I'm almost positive that that's the ship I'm going to recommend to new players, because if you don't know what you're doing, like we know what we're doing. We played a lot of games in the Star universe. So we know exactly what we're going to get at. We're going to get into some serious mining, a little bit of odd jobs, some cargo movement, that kind of stuff. That's what we love. It's our
definitely want to do some salvage.
But if you don't know what you're doing and you say you're brand new to the system still, I think the Vulcan's going to be the ship I'm going to start recommending people when it gets there, because if you want to mine, there's mining drones. If you want to combat, there's combat drones. If you want to salvage, there's salving drones. If you want to refuel, there's refueling drones. So any of the branches that's why I think the Vulcan is so neat. Its adaptability is grander than any ship we've seen so far. And it's not even done so through modules. It's just done by the fact that there's these smaller drone structures that will do different jobs. And so you can kind of outfit, you can min-max quite a lot with that ship if you follow.
And I know that it's put in as not truly And this one, I don't remember if it's because I've watched videos, but I don't remember how long ago the videos were from and how much has changed from these videos. But I know that whenever I was watching the videos, they were going through and saying like it's not really made as a combat ship, even though it has armor and stuff like that on it, and it does have some weaponry to be able to go through and kind of cover your ass to be able to jump in, jump out. But it is that introductory, it is that starter level multi job multi career path kind of thing ship to where you can go through and be like, yeah, I want to go in there and do some refueling, or I want to do some like rearming of getting to the front lines and saying like, cool, I need to go through and either people in my org, people in my friends or squads that I'm flying with, or whatever. It's that ship to kind of go through and start that career path to be able to go through and say, yeah, I can go out there and jump into refuel. And it's also one of those things to where whenever I remember reading it and watching these videos and stuff like that, it's not you're not going to go out there and completely refuel a ship in this ship. It's something to where to properly kind of use that ship. Yeah. It's to get them enough fuel to get them back to the fucking, a gas station or, a space station.
Working in a salvage yard or after a battle like that.
Right. And the big reason for that is because it's one of those things to where, if you call AAA and you break down, which I've never used AAA. I'm not that privileged. But if you have AAA and you call them out, they don't go through and bring you a full tank of gas. They bring you, 5 to 10 gallons to be able to get you to whatever you need to get to the next gas station. That's how it works, and that's the same mentality that's going to have for this one. It's one of those ships to where you can go out there and you can be like, cool, here's enough fuel to get you to whatever ship station that you can go through to actually be able to refuel and repair and rearm and everything like that fully. But I can make you to where you can limp back basically.
I am interested to see if players take it. Here's just one potential route, right? If it is supposed to be a ship that has some of these, especially early on, beginning, really quality drone capabilities, and secondly, we'd have to have, if combat drones are worthwhile, if that's I would be interested to see if the players take this ship and make it sort of a combat ship. Not combat with the ship. You wouldn't fly this thing into combat, but you'd fly it out to the edge of the battle and you'd operate your drones. That requires a lot of things becoming viable, but I love when players take kind of something that maybe isn't necessarily meant to fit, but because it's got the better computer for drone handling, or it's got the better systems for drone management, or so on and so forth, they make it work, or not only make it work, but make it excel in an area it wasn't initially designed for. So I would be crazy interested in seeing that.
I'm definitely interested in that side of it, because there's also a side of it is that the drone range, which they've never really specifically put a number on drone range. They said that you will lose range of the drones at a certain point. Like you'll get less and less telemetry on the drones, and then they no longer respond, right? And since they haven't really given a specific number, I don't know if that's something to where it's like, within like 500 meters. Because typically if you're on the outside, say let's talk about like with the Xenothreat event, or what was the last one?
It was the Jump Town, but the police version of the second half of Jump Town, where you went and fought the Nine Tails pirates.
Nine Tails, thank you. I can never remember the Nine Tails.
Nine Tails pirates.
But specifically that one, right? So like the biggest part of that would be something to where if you were able, not necessarily maybe with the Vulcan, but more with the Starfarer, and having somebody that's like, hey, this, with that one, we ended up getting to where we were like 5 to 7 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes out from the station that we'd have to like fly back to, because they were long missions. We were out there
at one point 30 kilometers from the 30 kilometers from the base. But I'd be willing to believe that the drones in this game easily could outpace that. I mean, we're talking maybe 500 kilometers for drones. There's no way it's going to be.
Honestly, I don't think
why would you not just have a ship that did it?
Because this isn't necessarily a drone ship to be able to go through. This is something where it's just like somebody flies up to you within proximity and you're giving those. You're delivering
screw combat for a second. Just a whole, like, if I have my choice between a prospector and a Vulcan, the only reason I would take the Vulcan is if I can mine more efficiently or farther out. If it's 50 meters, buy the prospector. If it's 50 meters, but if it's hundreds of kilometers, then
but they haven't talked about the Vulcan. I haven't seen anything specifically pointing out to the Vulcan being able to go through and use it for anything other than rearming or refueling or repairing a ship. I haven't seen any.
So the thing is that it holds 6 drones.
4 drones.
Period. 6.
4.
I think it's 2
Nope.
per person, 3 people.
It's 2 per person, 2 per side.
And there's only 2 pilots. But the point is this whole drone stream. So it doesn't matter if it's a combat drone, then you can operate that drone from that facility.
True. And I'm not saying that they haven't,
Mining
but I haven't
drone.
seen. I guess I haven't seen anything for the changeability on that specific ship of having it to where you can go through and change out the drones. I know you can change it between the 3 kind of functions that they have: repair, rearm, and refuel.
No, see that's what I'm saying. There was a single repairing drone that he doesn't refuel, he doesn't do anything. That drone repairs.
Right.
There's a different drone that refuels, and we've
Right.
already got confirmation on mining and combat drones. So there's no reason you couldn't, in your drone holder, hold whatever drone you want.
Absolutely,
Yes, it
don't
is
disagree with
focused around
that.
the 3.
But I guess because I haven't seen any specific thing where anybody from CIG has gone through and said, and yes, you would be able to change these out with from a whatever these 3 drones that the ship is made for to a mining or combat drone. I haven't seen that specific kind of thing of them saying that. Then that's where I'm like, those mining and combat drones could literally be a different shape and size to where they are just not compatible with this ship, and it would still fit in with the lore. Now, if they did have the ability to go through and have it like, I would love to go to fucking Levski and be like, oh yeah, we figured out how to black market it, and we made it to where you can do that with it. Like, I could see that absolutely being in the game because your logic is absolutely sound, and I'm not disagreeing with your logic in it. Yes, somebody would find out a way in the universe to go through and be like, but we can make the Vulcan to work and actually do mining drones, and the manufacturers who does a Vulcan?
Aegis.
Aegis is like, we didn't do this, and like, yeah, but this is aftermarket aftermarket mining drones, and that would be fucking amazing. But like I said, I haven't seen specifically to where.
No, I'll have to find it because I have specifically seen it was when they announced combat and mining drones that they were adding it to the list of drones they were going to make. They absolutely said that it can. So I'll have to. I can't find it immediately, but I will have to find it. We'll get that shared up. We'll get that.
Yeah, that'll be fucking great because that's just really.
I'm trying to look it up right.
But going back to the ship refueling, obviously that's like that first really big implementation of something kind of going forward with, not necessarily just with the Starfarer. Starfarer is the fueler.
Starfarer, yes. Fair.
What's the other one? Starlifter is the.
Starlifter.
That's the big lifter. Obviously, it's the big.
Yeah, big. Well, it's got the 3 variants. Yeah, it's got the cargo, the pure cargo. It's got the half and half where it's like bigger military guns and some cargo, and then it's got the full. The cargo is removed, but it's these massive torpedo bays.
Gotcha.
Like star system to planet size torpedoes, like for taking out bases and bunkers and shit.
Nice. But on this side, I mean, too, seeing the teams that were involved with the ship-to-ship refueling, right? That's part of me that it's just like saying it's amazing, and why everybody goes like, why does it take so long to get something implemented? Yeah, audio team, EU/PU gameplay feature team, the vehicle content team, narrative team, systemic services and tool team, the UI feature team, the vehicle experience team, the vehicle feature team. Like, so many teams are involved with these, and it's not like they get it for like a day. I'm like, yeah, it works. No, they spend weeks to months going through and making sure that, all right, let's make sure this works really well. And yeah, no, I'm really excited about that. Even though I don't have a refueling ship, I'm still like, yeah, no, absolutely. Like, get that fucking gameplay put in, because that's another loop, right? That's
and you get whole communities like the fuel rats over at Elite Dangerous. People love that gameplay of going out, rescuing a person, getting them back to a station. There's entire communities surrounding it, so it will be good to get it in the game.
Well, and somebody actually pointed out in one of the I think in the subreddit, and they were talking like, this also introduces the loop in there for piracy as well, because you can go through and be like, oh no, I'm a stuck ship, stepbrother, what are you doing? And like, Fuel Rat, we'll just go with the name Fuel Rat, comes in to go through and be like, cool, yeah, this is my rate for fuel, and goes out to that beacon point and gets pirated. And if they're in a fucking Starfarer with a huge amount of fuel, because the implementation also is in there for reselling. I believe that's also coming out in 3.17, reselling items back to the items in the like kiosk. But also does that make it to where that's something that I'd be interested in wondering as well, is you'd have to be able to also go through and sell back fuel, because say you have filled it up with nothing but hydrogen, and then you're like, oh shit, I need to actually sell some of this back and get quantanium, or not quantanium, but quantum.
Well,
fuel.
they are in different. They are stored in different tanks too. So you would always have room. At least on the Starfarer, it's 2 separate tanks. Your
Right.
hydrogen tank is not your quantum tank. And I believe that's pretty standard across the board. So you would just have an empty tank, which would be strange. If you.
But yeah, so if you go look at that side, but it still brings back the question, and also not necessarily just for that, but for future gameplay loops, in the sense of, like we were talking about a couple months ago, in the sense that, hey, this station needs fuel, not this ship, but this station itself needs fuel. So are you able to go through and buy from, not necessarily another station, but like from a, Orison. Orison is a huge, don't they go through and harvest hydrogen out of it? So going to Orison, filling up, and then going out to a station to help refuel that station and get, increase in pay.
Hybrid cargo fuel loop. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, isn't the Starfarer able to go out into gas giant nebulas and stuff like that to be able to go through and harvest?
Only the standard one has a scoop. The military edition replaces the scoop with missile bays, so it cannot.
Gotcha. But so with that mentality, like, you'd have to be able to go through and not only buy from a station, but also sell to a station, deliver to a station, with that mentality of, and being able to go through and it might be like the station says, this is what we're buying the fuel at.
Well, I'm sure it'll be much like, I guess. Yeah, I think it will be probably something like that, where you can scoop, again, to borrow terms from other games, you can scoop the fuel and then take it to either a station in need or a hub station, or yeah, absolutely, that would be.
So I think with the introductory, like the tier 0 ship-to-ship refueling, it is probably going to be just basic. But I can see through tier 1 through tier 3, 4, whatever the fuck they go up to.
Right, they were saying that there's a new console that I believe they were saying that when you want to do the refueling, it's introduced through a new console. So we'll have to get
have you not seen that video?
Look at that console.
Oh,
no,
that video! It's really great. So that video, they do show the console because and it actually is not just a straightforward like, cool, refuel them. You actually have to go through and say, yes, this is the amount. How much are they going to be, like buying all together a fuel? You set the rate and everything for your price that you're selling the fuel to those people at. But then you also have like the flow rate. And the flow rate goes through and says, hey, this is a ship that's just hypothetically, we'll use numbers, can hold, 500 units of fuel. And say you go through and put out 1,000 units of fuel. Well, all that excess fuel is getting spilled out into space, and you're losing profit because you paid for that. You paid for that fuel, and you're losing that because it's getting out in space. But also, even if you go through and say 500 units of fuel, but you go through and put the rate up super high, that can go through and have a lot of overfill, like splash spray out going off, where the hydrogen fuel is just kind of getting sprayed out into the system because it's not able to go through and get it, bottleneck it down to that little fuel tank. Okay. And so you can actually lose stuff on there. It's a really cool video. I'll have to find that one and show that one to you. But so seeing that implementation, even in tier 0, I'm like, all right, cool. Like, this is, everybody goes through and says this game's a scam. They don't put that much fucking attention to detail into scam games. They're like, nah, fuel, click, it's done. Like, no, this is a whole, like, I just get so frustrated when people go through and like, it's a scam. I'm like, you don't put that much time and dedication and attention to detail into something that's a scam.
You don't get away with no $400 million scam. Not even Bernie Madoff, you know what I mean? That shit just don't fly. People
so definitely interested in this one. And this one was last updated yesterday. This description and everything like that with the gameplay loop and everything like that, saying that it was committed. So that is definitely good to see. Committed here, the selling items to shops. So players will have the ability to sell items from their local inventory to shops using a new interface powered by building blocks. This supports the recently added loot generation feature, allowing these items to be sold for money, which is also great because I still have, even after every time we have to generate a character and I get all my stuff back, it'll be like the other tab in my my inventory, my local inventory is like, also you have like 50 or 60 of the ratadung or something, whatever the hell the poop from somewhere is. I'm like, all right, cool. That shit just follows me around everywhere, pun intended. because I can't get rid of it. It's just stuck in my inventory, but I haven't been able to sell it anywhere because I know they were having problems whenever I initially got it. And they were like, "Oh, you can sell it here," and they were having issues with the system for selling. But beyond that, even just the little lootables that you can get to where they have like different weapons and stuff like that inside there. At a certain point in time, you're like, "All right, cool. This is just I have way too many weapons, or I have way too much of this gear, or I have, dear God, why do I have so many?" I know I have so many of the medical gowns. Or like the undersuits or something like that. And you're like, all right, cool. I need to sell some of these because I have like 20 undersuits for no reason that are just like the solid white ones that no one has.
Okay.
But having that ability to go through and sell that stuff back into the shops using the interface is definitely going to be really fucking nice. Or, oh shit, I bought the wrong scope. Sell it back. Yeah, I'll take a little loss off it.
That's totally a possibility. You know what has always bugged me though is when you get missions to say like on a rescue mission or a bounty mission, you go out to sometimes find the crashed ships. They often have a bunch of loot on those ships that come in the smaller SCU boxes you can't do anything with.
Yep.
It's valuable, but you can't take it. You can't actually sell it anywhere. I really hope this covers that, being able to collect some of those boxes, because some of that's good stuff. Sometimes it's
and it says this
this
supports the recently added loot generation feature, allowing these items to be sold for money. So that should have that. And I do really want to get back into the game soon because I want to go through and check out. They do have Derelict ship sites now. Like,
they've had Derelicts for a minute, but yeah.
Well, but more generation, like more, not like the same Derelict ship cookie cutter pasted in different places. They actually have some different ones, varieties of them out.
Oh, okay. I hadn't seen much cookie cutter. Every time I had done any of those missions, it was always like, I think I've seen maybe 12 or and each time they're blown up too. Like they really look like they were just blown up in space. So I was already happy with them. It'll be exciting to see what they've done.
Yeah. So definitely a good one to see on here. Now these two down here are marked as tentative, which means that they might still make it in. We still have we'll just say a month before it really hits the
about
the
a month,
PTU.
I think.
The RSI Scorpius, or the X-Wing as everybody calls it.
It does look like an X-Wing.
As a heavy fighter, I think the design of ship is cool, but also in that same sense, I'm not a super like heavy into like the dogfights and stuff like that gameplay. I do like playing the Arena Commander, stuff like that. I think that's enjoyable and fun. I think for me, it's just one of those things where too often it's a side up to where it's just like there's rarely a one-on-one kind of thing.
You're not gonna find it.
It always seems like it's like if there is, pad rammers or anything like that. I mean, it's a group of guys that are out there just looking to go through and start shit. So it's one of those things where it's just like it's kind of like that lure of like, yeah, go ahead and shoot at me. Cool, pew pew pew, destroyed. Like, and it's almost an instant death. I can't wait until they actually get the much further into the specific systems and like specific parts of ships going through and getting damaged and blown up. I know they do have a lot of that implemented now, but having that to where it's at its like the full tier 3 or whatever you want to call it level, so that it's not an instant death.
Yeah.
Because right now that's kind of how it seems. It's just like dead. All right. Well, that was fun.
Well, the nice thing about the Scorpius is I think it's going to offer when it comes as a ship, I think it's going to offer quite a lot of livability is the word I'm going to go with, because its weapons are wing mounted on each of those 4 wings. And so, yeah, everyone's saying that when it gets shot off, you're useless, but when it gets shot off, you can still go home.
Yeah.
You know, my Tana, when the wings are gone, which is where the weapons are on the wings. When the wings are gone, that ship's gone too. Like, we're done. Like, that ain't going. The engines are in the wings. Everything's in the wings. So
gotcha.
With this guy here, even if we clipped its wings and made it so it couldn't shoot back at you, this pilot's still going home to repair. You know what I mean? That could be something that this ship does better than anyone else simply by its design.
Well, and depending on fighting location, right? If you're in on planet in atmosphere, obviously the flight models are getting better and better, and they're going to continue to work on that to get better. But that's one of the things to where you will have some ships to where if you lose wings or if you're just a big enough ship and everything like that, you don't go down a surface, aka the whole sea. You know, those large ships, and not just that. I mean, your much bigger ships that come through are not in a mode to where they're set to be made really for in atmosphere flight.
You never want to land at sea. You never want to land at sea.
But even still, if you were even with the Scorpius, if it was something to where you were in atmosphere and your wings got shot off, that should go through and have a huge effect on either maybe not crashing immediately, but game flight and stability, or not flight and stability, and the ability to go through and actually use your ship to be able to get to safety. So I'm just always interested to see the new things that they go through and introduce with anything for ships. And then the last one that's tentative in here for the 3.17 is the Hull A. Yep.
Just the Hull A, because I love the Hull series. I like MISC as in general.
Yeah.
But I love the Hull series. I want some of those big ones, man. I'm gonna be awed. You know what I mean? It's gonna be like when you're a kid and you go to the airport and you just watch the planes take off, kind of situation with these big cargo haulers just moving around space. And I think it was the Hull C is gonna be the most common ship driven by NPCs, so they should be everywhere. It should be like literally semis on the highway.
Yeah, and I'm really glad, because whenever at first I was actually under the impression that they didn't really have a home animation for the Hull A's. I thought it was going to be a lot more simple for the it's the smallest one, because I can't remember the carrying size for the Hull A's, like what, 80 or 30. It's not big. I know it's under 100 SCU.
It's under 100, but it's also completely different than what the ship page is inaccurate, because the ship page shows container values.
Right.
And we now have the new containers. So there's no one has the correct number. But
Gotcha.
it is going to be lower. I couldn't imagine it being.
Well, and because right now with the
around?
raft we have 96 SCU of total storage, but it's in 3 containers. But they also have different size containers. There's not a one size fits all container. They do have smaller and larger containers, and that's one thing they talked about a couple months ago. In the sense that the ship container size is no longer just a standardized Connex or shipping container. I've always known them as Connexes, but I think that's a brand of shipping container. Anyways, so they do have different, right? So they do have different shipping container sizes, and so I can't wait until this actually gets implemented. Which this is tentative right now for 3.17. There still is stuff, and if we go to the deliverable view. A lot of the teams are finishing up by second to third week of March. But I mean, that's whenever it should be hitting Evocati, right? So it's like, it's tentative. If everything goes swell,
we'll get it.
Then yeah, good to go.
And if Evocati doesn't break it.
True. Yeah, if it gets out into beta and they're like, oh fuck.
And Evocati guys love to break shit.
And you can't even be mad at them. I would much rather them break it there, or break it whenever it hits like the active player PTU or whatever, like whenever it hits the full life PTU. I'd much rather it break there than then put it into the game and be like, and then nobody can actually fucking use it. Like, break it there, take a couple weeks, a month or so, and get it fixed, and then get it actually implemented to where it's actually can be used. It's heartbreaking. Don't get me wrong. I'm like, that sucks. But also in the same sense, I'd much rather them go through and break the shit out of it and then be like, wow, we never even thought that people would even try to use it that way, and then have to fix shit. Then it come out and then be like, cool, we'll wait another 3 months for us to do something about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'd much rather them try to go through and break it. And
that's their job. That's why they're there. That's why they're there. Is the first that we've got our in-game, in-house testers. All right, what do they break? What can we fix? But that's still only going to be maybe 10 people. Like, it's got to be a small number. It's got to be a small number. So move it to Evocati, right? Because now you're looking at a couple hundred, maybe 200, 250 people. And then when you get to PTU, now we're into 10,000. Now, what has happened when 10,000 people have it?
I do wonder what the advertisements, if you're going to be able to go through, and if it's just going to be like random advertisements on the side of your ship, or if you're going to be able to go through and, I'm assuming you're not going to be able to go through and put up custom advertisements or custom logos on the side. That's one thing I've liked watching, and like whenever they're showing like the big huge Hull C's, Hull D's, Hull E's, and especially with the video of like the Hull E that's going through and cruising, which is just an ungodly amount of fucking storage on that. In some of these videos, and they have like the huge advertisement on there for different stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, get it.
It'd be really cool, and again, with their attention to detail, is if it works like sponsorships. Like, if you can have the Coca-Cola ad because Coca-Cola is paying you money to have the ad.
That would be cool, but I don't see them kind of put that in there.
You don't see them doing that? Okay. I totally see them doing that. I totally, it wouldn't be Coca-Cola, obviously. It'd be whatever their space.
Right. I would see it. I would see an implementation of it as like if they did it to where a smart implementation. Let's see, how can I word that? A way that I could see the implementation being done is if you were doing work for an organization or a company, you know, and you were actually picking up that company's stuff. That's kind of what the advertisement was on the side, right? You're picking up noodles for the yakisoba place.
Benny's noodles.
Benny's noodles, and so that's because that's what your inventory is, and that's what contract you're under for, you know, an NPC mission or whatever. That's the advertisement that's going up on the side. That could also be dangerous though, because if it's like Quantanium, because you're working for, you know, whoever you're working for, and you're actually hauling Quantanium, and having a big huge logo on the side to where like pirates and stuff like that know, like, all right, we know he's hauling ores of some sort. It's going to be beneficial.
I would really hope that we would have some minute, but I'd like for larger control over what's on those panels.
Oh, I would definitely would. Because I would love to go through and see it for later on with org gameplay, being able to go through and have org logo or
the org logo.
How's my driving? Give me a how's my flying. You know,
because I would never broadcast my valuables, right?
No.
When you said that, when you were talking about the Quantanium. That's exactly what I would not take a job if it was like, oh yeah, and display that you're a target.
Right.
That for me is now.
That's like the Loomis Fargo trucks. You're like, I know what they're hauling, money. I guess that might not translate too well. I don't know if Loomis Fargo is everywhere. Obviously, it's not all over the world, but
it's a money truck, people.
It's a money truck. Yeah, it's the armored money trucks that go through to the businesses and pick up, you know, the monies and deposit them into banks. But yeah, it's just like you see a Loomis Fargo truck, even if it doesn't say Loomis Fargo, you're like, that's a Loomis Fargo truck. That's an armored money truck. I know what that is.
It's cash money.
But yeah, no, like, so I hope that this actually gets committed before 3.17 comes out. In all honesty, I hope this gets committed more than the Scorpius. Like the Scorpius, I'm like, 100%. All right, cool, another fighter 100%. Ship. The hull, like, one, I'm always down to see new stuff from Misk. I love the Misk ships. I love the design for them. Prospector, the
Tana, bro.
The Tana.
Misk Reliant Tana. That's my girl.
The what's the one that Hua has? The hull. They have the military version of it and the shipping version. It's the one that's like 384 SCU of cargo for shipping. The
come on, man.
It's right on the tip of my tongue. I had one. Freelancer. The Max and the Dur and the Mist. Yeah.
In the universe.
But like the styles for them. Yeah, and I had that ship for a while. Like I bought that ship. But yeah, so like just the styles for them I think are great, and I really can't wait to see. I've looked at the videos where they go through and show the final art and stuff like that. For the insides of the ship, and it looks great. Yes, it looks good. I want it, so make it happen. I love the little bubbly kind of look, because in my head it always is one of those ones that kind of looks like it would fit in with the Fallout, that retro future design. That's how I take it.
Yeah.
That's the feel I get for it.
No, I 100% agree. I'm excited for the folding cargo arms. I think that's just a very, you know, even as a mechanical engineer in my career path, like seeing those unfold, seeing that entire system actually be mechanized, I'm stoked for. It's gonna be a crazy cool system across the whole series.
Yeah,
the way they hold
and as they go bigger, right? Because that'll be the other thing too. Is like once we actually see them implemented and in game, and it'll be like, you know, showing friends and like free flies and stuff like that, or just getting people interested in it, whether it's on stream or whatever, and just being like, yeah, check this out, and the fucking arms fly out. And then whenever they introduce the B and the C and the D and the E and everything like that, and you're like, yeah, now watch this.
Well, yeah, and the A and the B at least can still planetary land. The C can, but you don't ever want to.
The C, from what I remember they were saying, is like if you're loaded, it can't.
Fully loaded, you can't. Unloaded, you can, but it's still going to be such a behemoth to get on and off the planet. You better be making money that run. And the D, don't even try it. And the E, you're fucking kidding yourself. I don't even think the E has landing gear.
Well, see, that's that gameplay loop that I'm actually really interested in, is because there is, you know, people could go through and say, like, I can hear the argument of, and we've had this conversation as well. Why would you want the raft if you have the caterpillar, or if you can get like the hull C or the hull B or the hull A or whatever? And it's literally for that spot, because a raft, I can go through and land at a planetary fucking outpost and be like, cool, fill me up with A, B, C, whatever, you know, like whatever commodity I'm going there and pulling up from there, bring it up to a space station, or just bring it up to fucking orbit to Panda, who's sitting there in a fucking hull C, and load that shit onto his fucking...
Not from the raft. We would still need an intermediate ship, which does lead me back to that
That's the
argument
SRV.
before. No, the SRV is the search and rescue vehicle.
No, the Argo Srv, that's the
Argo cargo?
Mm-mm.
Let's look this up.
Standard recovery vehicle is a tugboat specialized in lugging cargo containers and ships, with an integrated tractor beam for salvage, repair, or piracy, from simple freight and cargo towing to harrowing search and rescue operations. So it is, I guess it does have search and rescue operations in there.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be moving cargo with this, because the
Argo cargo doesn't have any kind of ability for quantum jumping. So it's only within basically the limits of the station or wherever you spawn it at, right? So, but with this one right here, because you can move simple freight and cargo with the SRV, because it has...
it just uses a tractor beam, though, is what I'm trying to say. And the Caterpillar already has 2 of those tractor beams.
True.
Yeah, that's how you're going to be moving these big boxes, not with a...
The raft also has a tractor beam system.
Yeah. It's just the raft only holds 3 container boxes, where the Caterpillar...
Right, but if you're going down to an outpost or something like that, 96 SCU of shit isn't nothing to scuff at. And if you can go back and forth and be like, all right, cool, 3 containers pop back up.
I almost completely disagree. In the world of a C, D, or E, 3 is nothing. 3 is chump change.
True,
you'll spend more in
but you wouldn't be
doing
that. You wouldn't be doing that for a C, D, and E, because logistically speaking, you would go through and say, all right, the A's are moving stuff. So if we look at this in this logic, right? Stuff goes, and if you're a farmer out on Yella and you have stuff that needs to go out, you would go through and hire out something like either raft or caterpillar or something like that to go through and get supplies from that farm base to a hub location, where you would put that up onto an A, B, or C, which would go through and get that to a main hub source, like, so basically the center of whatever system that you're in. So you would technically only really have one main huge hub for the D and E's, the whole D and E's, in a station, because you wouldn't want it. You're not trying to go down to, we need to go to Crew L1. No, you'd be like, nope, I need a big ass fucking hub on Microtech that I can attach to, and then the commodities come to you, and you put them on the D or E, and then you go through and say, cool, we're only in this for the long flight to get to, you know, Pyro, Nix, whatever, you know, other system that's out there, other jump gate, and you're jumping to that system, and then it's getting disseminated out to the local area from there.
And the problem that I'm seeing is, I think you've added too many steps to it, and we don't know yet, but there's no way that you would use a raft to fill a hull B. You would just land the hull B and fill it, and then the hull B would take it to that central hub to be loaded onto a bigger ship.
Can a hull B
and you would do the same with the raft. The raft would simply take it from the farm. It wouldn't take it to a B. The raft would just take it straight to the hub. Even a Caterpillar, even though I think one thing that's going to become very important is where the lines are drawn, and I think the Caterpillar may be the end of... It's the smallest, biggest ship, if that makes sense. You wouldn't want to land anything bigger than a Caterpillar. You don't even really want to land a Caterpillar, but it can do it. You wouldn't want to land anything smaller. You wouldn't want to land anything...
It wouldn't be efficient,
It wouldn't be efficient. You wouldn't want to land smaller because you're not going to get enough cargo. You wouldn't want to land bigger because your fuel costs... Or, like, again, bigger may not even be an option. Not even available. But yeah, I don't think you would use a raft to fill a B. That would be strange.
Well, the B's, let's see, systems, new, weaponry, what I'm looking for.
And the problem is that we can't use these store page numbers. They're worthless.
Yeah, that's true. But we can
They're
at least get for what we're working off with mindset of.
Yeah, see, I think you would land an A and a B easy. A C you can land empty, but you better be worth it. And then D's and E's just, I mean, landing. What the fuck are you talking about? Well,
Yeah,
let's look at this
see,
B.
I think the A is definitely landable. Hull A and B are often used as station to orbit ferries. Is what it says on here. The hull A and B are often used as station to orbit ferries.
To orbit.
So to get stuff from the station or from the ground into space, or from the space into ground. So it is giving information right there. It's not uncommon to spot several in different liveries during a single flight. Okay, gotcha. And then the C is the one that's going through and saying offers expansive modularity of the larger ships while retaining a modicum of the maneuverability allowed in the low end of the ships. So intended to hit the sweet spot between smaller and between the smaller single person transports and the massive super freighters that make up the rest of the range. Gotcha.
It's saying here the A's cargo capacity is 48 anythings, and then the B's is 384, which actually, again, we can't use those numbers because they're not going to transfer over to the in-game SCU. But what I find interesting is that 384 number is right in between. It's more than the 96 of the Raft and the Runner, less than the 500 of the Cat.
Yeah, because the Cat's what, 596 for the...
Yeah, something like the B seems to be.
So that's
right
about
in
the same
middle.
as the Freelancer, isn't it?
No, the Freelancer only holds 90. 114.
Is 114 for the...
I think it's 114 for the Freelancer, the big one.
Freelancer Max. 122.
122. Damn, I was close.
What's
so the
one's
B being
around for storage? Which one? I thought there was one that was close to that
I
number
have
already.
never seen one in the 300s. I've never seen one in the 300s. It's always under 100 or more than 500.
I wish you could just click buttons to see what the like as down here is like what's the hauling capacity. Because the Star Runner's right around 112 or something like that, isn't it?
Yes, the Star Runner is 114, but 14 of that is secret cargo, so it's really only 100 in the bay. In the ship matrix here, they are comparing the hull B directly to the Freelancer. What it says here is that the Freelancer is often equipped for long-range exploration and doing other roles, where the hull B is pure cargo. So it does get a boost. And as far as numbers, I don't think I've ever seen anything in that 300 range for cargo. It's always been less or more. It is a really interesting option that it's going to fit that gap. It also looks like it's a two-seater, a pilot and a co-pilot, where the A is only a single pilot. I have to imagine that the A is going to be no bigger than a Prospector.
I kind of put it in that same size as well. Let's see. Ships.
And the B is probably as long as a Freelancer, but then different in other proportions. Because the Freelancers are very wide ships. There's no way the hull B is that wide.
So if we look at, I'm going to close some of these down. 576 for the Caterpillar, not 596. So the hull A, oh motherfucker, we don't have the, these might not be correct for the specs, because I think they did have to go through and like increase some of the sizes to go through and make sure that everything fit in there. But if we're just going off of these numbers that are based on here, right? 24 meters for the Prospector, it's 24 meters in length, 15 meter beam, and a 7 meter height. 22 meter and length, 8 meter beam, and 4 meter height for the hull A. So 3 meters shorter and 7 meters thinner. But I think that's in its not hulling. Like that's whenever it's compacted.
Oh, 100%. It would be in its, it's in its.
So I guess technically is, smaller, about the same length, 24 meters versus 22 meters. So lengthwise, but the beam with the cargo on there, I can see being probably about the same of 15 to probably maybe 20 meters. Whenever it has, inventory cargo on it. And then the height, I can see right now it's saying 4 meters for the height, so about 12 feet tall, 12 and a half feet tall. Versus
Again, that's probably only the cockpit living section, not the extended cargo section.
Yeah, I am wondering where that is coming from.
It's 12 meters is too small to be a 4-pod cargo container. If we're talking about the B still, it's just.
We're talking about the A. The A. I was just looking at
okay.
the A. So the A is 8 meter beam and 4 meter height, but the Miss Prospector is a 7 meter height, and that's where I'm looking at it to try to figure out like where the extra height is coming from on the Prospector versus the hull. And again, these numbers are based off of things that probably have changed because I don't think these have been updated in a while.
No, not for these ships. The ship matrix is somewhat kept relevant, but for a ship that's not even in game, no, absolutely,
right,
completely useless.
So yeah, I don't know. We could go on and talk about this forever, and I know this is actually I'll have to edit this down and kind of get some spot out of here because I think I don't know what we're actually going in at. But yeah, we can go on and have these conversations forever and just talk about them. If you guys do want to go through and pop in our live streams whenever we do play different games, we're if somebody brings up something or questions about Star Citizen, we will happily wax lyrically on some wax poetic on Star Citizen and everything about it. So, and even if it's just stuff to where it's just like our thoughts and processes for future of the game and gameplay loops and stuff like that, we are always happy to go through.
And we're not 100% like-minded, so either. So you're getting two different opinions, both from knowledgeable people. Should be good content, folks.
Yeah, there's been plenty of times where we just do not agree on something, like just flat out. Right? We had like a 5-hour conversation one night, and I was like, "Bro, it's fucking 2 a.m. I got to go to sleep," but we just kept talking about it. And that was all about server meshing. So don't bring that up in chat, or do, and we'll have a long, drawn-out conversation about that as well. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up there, guys, and try to go through and get this edited. I'll see when this gets out. I'll try to get it put out tomorrow, if possible. But it all depends on how much real life work and everything like that takes up. So that is gonna wrap it up for us. Pan, did you have any closing remarks?
Goodbye, everybody. Have good weekends, and tell your family members that you love them.
And so long, and thanks for all the fish, all that good stuff. Until next time, guys, this is Dreamweaver23, reminding you to game happy. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you all later. Bye, guys.